Hey, folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Thursday, August 7th. Got a little bit of a different episode planned for today. Training camp practice at St. Vincent College will continue with practice number 13. Brendan Howe will have coverage for Steelers Now and some content here on the YouTube channel a little bit later as well, including normal sights and sounds, and he'll be doing a practice report. And Hunter Homestek will be joining Zachary Smith on the afternoon drive. I am flying to Jacksonville a day early for the Steelers preseason game. And so I will be out for most of the day. Mike Tomlin is going to talk at St. Vincent at noon. We'll be around for that, but not talking about something explicit. Although I did something I did see at training camp, but talking about something a little bit different. I've teased this earlier in the week, and I want to deliver now on something I think the Steelers can and I believe will do with Darnell Washington we haven't necessarily seen before, that I think is a heck of a lot more useful than moving him to tackle. We're going to get a little technical here. Got the whiteboard out, so let's go. Normally, when I start diagramming a play on the whiteboard, one of the very first things I do is this, and that represents the offensive line in almost every formation in all of football: center, guard, and tackle on either side. And then no matter what you do around it, that's pretty much a constant. But it's actually not codified by rule. The only rule is you have to have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. And of those 7 guys, the interior 4 are automatically, no matter what position they play, ineligible receivers. But you can put them any way you want to put them on the offensive line. Let's say you can just do that. Okay, you can move the center here and have an extra offensive lineman on one side. It's called an unbalanced line. And a very specific kind of unbalanced line takes this tackle, brings this tackle over here. It's called a tackle over. Now, this is common in college football and high school football for one reason, is that you're just trying to catch the defense not paying attention. You're trying to catch the defense lining up in their normal alignment, and then all of a sudden you're going to run right, and there is just an advantage. But it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. And by the way, there are innumerable ways that you can line up your offensive line. There are some plays where you have the tackle way over here next to wide receiver with a slot guy in between. And then, maybe a tight end and a flanker over here. Like, as long as you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys on the offensive line, this guy's eligible, this guy's eligible, these 5 in the middle are not. You can put them in any order, in any scenario you want to. It doesn't matter. The middle guy doesn't have to snap the ball. In fact, the center can actually be eligible. You can have the center there. There's your 4 other offensive linemen, okay? And now you have a tight end here who would be ineligible because he's one of the center 5. And then maybe you have a flanker here and a wide receiver there. Maybe you get 2 backs in the backfield. So the center can be eligible. They can go anywhere. But this tackle over idea combined with, so in this tackle over set here, we've moved Broderick Jones to the right side of Troy Fautanu and putting Darnell Washington right here. To me, this is a really interesting formation for the Pittsburgh Steelers because it makes the defense declare their intentions with Washington. One of the problems with using Darnell Washington as a huge blocking tight end is that defenses can simply treat him like he's an offensive tackle. Let's say this is 80 here for this play. You get in your traditional 4-3 guy in every gap defense, and this is the strong side linebacker. He can just rush. He can just automatically rush because he doesn't think that 80 is a receiving threat that's going to go upfield to beat him. Okay, but when you move 80 over here, now the defense can't line up in its normal gaps, right? The defense has to move over to respect the fact that the offensive line is here. Now you've got 80 here, and you also have 88 over here. So if you put your strong side linebacker here, okay, that means we get Pat Freiermuth on a will. That's a win. Okay. If you treat him like a defensive, like a defensive lineman, you could put a an extra defensive lineman in the game if you treat him like an extra tackle, like someone who's going to run 6-0 lineman. Then you can throw it to him. I think it makes things difficult for the defense. The other part of this is you don't have to have 88 on the line of scrimmage here. You can have 4 on the line of scrimmage here, and you can have 88 come in motion. Now, all of a sudden, you're shifting the strength of the formation drastically. And I think that makes things very difficult for defenses, especially 4-3 defenses where the Sam and the Will, the strong side outside linebacker and the weak side outside linebacker, are often very, very different body types. The Will is going to be a thin coverage linebacker. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in Cleveland, right? Someone like that. Strong side linebacker is going to be this, huge hulking guy who maybe sometimes plays edge. And you can make it very difficult to determine what is the strength of your formation. Is this guy a receiving threat? Should you treat him as a lineman? And then what happens when you start to go in motion and change the strength of formation? The Steelers are lined up this way with the tackle over, 77 on the right and 80 on the left, at least once this training camp. And I think it's something that they should really try more this season, because I really think you're forcing the defense to declare their intentions with 80. How do you want to treat him? Are you treating him like a lineman? Or are you treating him like a tight end? Especially when you introduce motion into the equation. And then Aaron Rodgers can sit there and say, "Oh, they're disrespecting 80 as a receiver here. They have a defensive lineman over him. We're gonna make sure we throw a pass." Oh, they're not doing that? Oh, well, they're just leaving us an extra gap on the right-hand side, and we're gonna get Pat Freiermuth a running start against their smallest linebacker. I think we can run the ball there. And there is no real easy cheat code way for a defense to respond to this. The other thing this does, as so many other things that Arthur Smith does, talking about putting the 4 tight ends on the field or the 3 tight ends on the field. I don't want to say nobody, because there's some very creative defensive coordinators out there. And certainly if you ran it a bunch, somebody would come up with one. But I'll say this. I don't think any defensive coordinator at training camp right now is installing blitz packages for a tackle over situation with an 280 at least pound tight end in there. No one's designing a defense around stopping this. They're going to have to adjust what they normally do to this. And I think that's always a win. It's not with everything in football, the more you do it, the more people get used to you doing it, the more they'll fit it into their game plan to stop, and it will become less effective. But I think as a change-up for the Steelers this year, given their personnel, I think it could be really effective. And if you're really worried about Broderick Jones as a pass protector, this is a way to occasionally get him on the right side of the field and put Darnell Washington on the left. And if you have this idea that you want to see Darnell Washington at tackle, well, he's basically lined up at tackle here, except he's eligible. So I hinted at this when we talked about Darnell Washington earlier. I don't think they should move him to tackle, and I think Broderick Jones will probably be fine. But I think you look at some of the Steelers' strengths and weaknesses, this is a pretty good way to attack them, and I think it's one of the reasons that we've seen it from Arthur Smith, and I expect to see it in the season. This is something Matt Canada used to do from time to time also, and he'd put a wide receiver at the end of the line with his hand down. And you have to have a pretty big wide receiver or it looks dumb, and like Calvin Austin in there against the defensive lineman just isn't going to work. But, man, DK Metcalf could do it too. So you could put 4 down there in that spot. It's a different challenge, but you could do it that way too. You don't have to do it with 80, although I think there's a lot of good reasons too. All right, I promised that video. I know you guys like it when I get the whiteboard out and get a little technical. From time to time, I try not to go overboard with it. You can put your offensive lineman in any order you want. And I think that's this tackle over tight end at left tackle alignment that we did see is a pretty interesting wrinkle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, that's all for now. More later with Smitty and Hunter. And you'll see me here tomorrow from Jacksonville. Until then, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and enjoy.